people think of fitness as this vanity project, and sometimes it can be, and to be honest, like if that's what drives you to go to the gym, cool. But it doesn't have to be a vanity project. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of people think like, oh, I don't need to be jacked. I don't need to have a 6-pack abs. I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm comfortable with the way I look and the way my physique is. And to that, I'll say that's awesome, but you're kind of missing the point. Like, take me for example. I want to have energy in my day-to-day life so I can video edit all day and then hop on a podcast interview like I'm doing today, and then take my dog for a walk, and then send a bunch of emails, run some errands. Like, I want to have energy. I got shit to do. Mm-hmm. So you get more energy in your day-to-day life. You get the health benefits, in terms of your hormones. And then you get the mental health benefits because when you exercise, it releases dopamine in your brain. Mm-hmm. And so it literally makes you happy. It's literally like a chemical drug. It's like the OG SSRI, Mm-hmm. And then you also, get the vanity aspect. You look better. You look better in your clothes. You look better. You feel better. It's just kind of a no-brainer. There's literally no downside to working out at all. The only downside is it can take a lot of time. But anytime I hear someone who's just like, oh, I don't need to go to the gym, I like the way, I'm kind of like, shut up,
Yeah. Trying not to get too high on my soapbox here, but yeah, that is definitely a thing that's pervaded in our society these days, especially with people with disabilities. Where it's just like, oh, you're fine how you are. Sure, you're valuable as a human being, but also everyone deserves to push themselves. There's this whole cliche of like the fat, sloppy, out of shape blind person. I have been told about this all the time. Like, you're an anomaly. Same with you, Lance. You'd be considered an anomaly. You have people coming up to conferences going, that is crazy you do that, because it is such an exception to the rule. I speak for teachers of visually impaired, orientational mobility specialists, different professors for adaptive physical education, and it is not normal. There are studies done about like physical activity levels in the blind community. One of them had the brilliant conclusion that physical activity increases quality of life in blind people. It's one of those studies I call the no-duh study. It's like, why do we put any effort into this? Like, everyone knows that. But it's because there is such this pervasive trend in the blind community that a lot of people are too accepting of their lot in life or what they think it is, and they don't want to, to quote like a Heath Ledger movie, they don't want to like change their stars. There's a lot you can still do. I try to be an example of that, and a lot of people choose not to. Let's be honest too, society is definitely leaned against us as any sort of marginalized community, whether it be disabled, different socioeconomic status, everything like that. And there's a big intersectionality issue when it comes to disabled people. You don't have the money to be able to buy a ton of workout equipment, tend to get paid less, or be less employed, all these different issues. Like, kind of got to fight back against that and make sure that you push back against all these things anyway. I don't know how many times I was writing an article about this, so I'm like pre-revved up, I think. I've had, like, especially when I was at the college gym in Chicago, people would just walk up and be like, it was almost like I was turning into the gym mascot. They're like, oh, it's so great that you're here. I'm like, I just outlifted everybody. Like, me and my buddy were the strongest people there, and it's because we actually got after it. But him, it was like, Jared's really strong. Evan, good for you. You're here in the building. And it was like, oh my gosh. So society kind of having those effects and going like, oh, you don't need to work out. Like, you can sit on the bench. You're blind. All this stuff is a big problem. And man, I'm just really fighting to get the word out and be able to encourage people and lower the difficulty of entry. So I've got 50-something articles on my website. I work with people, and like we were talking about earlier, with somebody doesn't have to be the tip of the spear for the blind community. They just have to be able to get fit enough to, again, enjoy their life. You made me think about one of my online clients who I trained all the way in Texas, and she was getting more and more out of shape and having all these, mental issues and everything like that as well that came with it, with getting more out of shape. And not being able to do as much. And we've been working on stuff, and it's just at home workouts. And through some decent consistency, she was able to go on like a family trip to New Orleans. And usually she'd be holding back the pack and have to rest a lot and everything like that. And she's like, no, I was good because of these workouts. And I was just able to go all day and never be a burden or feel like a burden. And we were able to just have fun and keep rolling the whole day, when normally I would have needed a bunch of these breaks and felt really bad. But it was really able to optimize her experience and help her life a lot. So, yeah, I'll get off my soapbox, but that is a big deal to be able to utilize fitness and weaponize it so that you are then able to thrive. And again, the vanity thing, that can be a bonus. And a lot of people, especially in the sighted world, care a lot more about those superficial things. But don't misconstrue exercise as just a superficial thing, because like you did such a great job rattling off all the extra benefits. There's way more than that than just having bigger biceps.
Oh yeah, it's just a no-brainer, and it goes for both men and women. That's another thing with women. They'll think like, going back to a comment you made earlier, they'll say, I don't want to get too bulky. With weightlifting. As a female, and again, it's not going to happen unless you're taking steroids and you're hitting lifting heavy weights consistently. You're not going to look jacked, so it's and it can benefit from a practical standpoint. You're talking about white canes, helping your balance out, and there's practical benefits of being in shape. Oh, if you stumble and need to catch your balance, if you're exercising with your legs, like that's gonna help you. You're gonna fall less. You're gonna be able to carry yourself in a more confident manner than if you're more frail with how you walk with your cane.
Yeah, and that brings up a couple of the online programs that I sell. One is called Upright, and it's a fall prevention program made more accessible for the blind community, because it's easier to trip when you're blind. But if you fall, break a hip, especially if you're older, you're starting to circle the drain. So we don't want that.